Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and in this lesson we're going to explore ways to play El Matador by Melody Bober with Artistry. El Matador is found in the excellent collection Grand Solos for Piano, Book 4, which you can purchase using the link below. Let's come to the piano to get started. Remember, artistry means telling an exciting story with your music. What is the mood of El Matador? Remember, an El Matador is a bullfighter, so this is exciting. It's dangerous. We want a bold, exciting sound at the beginning, with lots of accent, energy, and boldness. It's also very important to think about the timing of your damper pedal. Remember to time the up-down of your right foot playing the damper pedal with the left hand. Up, down, up, down, up, down. If your foot lifts a little early, here's what you'll get. Did you hear the gap in the sound? That gap means I lifted my foot too early. Remember, don't lift until the moment your fingers go down. So fingers go down, foot comes up. Up, down, up, down, up, down. If I lift late, could you hear the blur between the two chords? If you're hearing blur between the notes, then you know that you've lifted too late. Try to time it so there's no blur and no gap. Pause the video, and I'd like you to work on just the first 4 measures with a good, bold, exciting sound, with good timing of your damper pedal. And remember in measure 4, to slow down a little bit because of the ritardando, and then do a better job than I just did of a little decrescendo there. I did better that second time. Going into the fermata, we want to pull back the sound to set the stage. For the a tempo in measure 5, a tempo means go back to full speed, back to normal. Pause to work on measures 1 through 4, then press play to go on. Let's check out measures 5 and 6 now. I like to use this kind of articulation for the left-hand part, with a slur between these first 2 notes and then a light staccato on these repeated E's. So I think down, up, up, and a little bit stronger on this first note, strong, weak, weak, up, up, up. And that makes a really interesting artistic sound, as opposed to just going, which sounds ugly and boring to me. Da, da, up, down, up, up, ba, up, ba, up. So even though it's not drawn in the music, remember, as an artist, you get to make some articulation choices like this. Let's try to play it with this kind of articulation. One great way to get this down, up, up, gentle sound on those repeated E's and a nice staccato is by thinking of a floating, quick lift on those E's. So think down, up, down, up, up. Now you try. Down, up, down, up, up. And make those ups as gentle as you can. Strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak. Now your turn. Now let's keep going. So we have measure 5, down, up, down, going to 6. Now pause the video and work on just left hand alone. Work on this nice floating wrist motion and a nice strong, weak, weak. Work on measures 5 through 8, left hand alone, then press play to go on. Now, for the right-hand part, I want to make this an interesting phrase. Now, Melody Bober tells us mezzo forte here and marks this as a phrase, but what she doesn't give us is how to shape each individual note. Now, in a beautiful, interesting phrase. You're not going to play all the notes evenly. They're going to get louder and softer to make the music kind of dance and come alive. So maybe as the notes are going up, maybe there'll be a little bit of a crescendo. Dee da 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 da. And then I like to play this first part of these 16th notes louder. Ya da 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 dum. But then as you come to the end of a phrase, remember the end of a phrase is a good place to add a decrescendo. So we have a beautiful, gentle ending to our phrase. See how I played this note louder? It's on beat 1, so it's a good place to emphasize ya da 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 da, and then de-emphasize or decrescendo as you're going to the end of that phrase. And then even along the way, there may be a little bit of rise and fall. No composer can show you how to play every single note, but you're going to use your artistry to try to make that phrase sound interesting. Notice how I made some notes louder, some softer. There's a flow to it, a rise and a fall. Tell an interesting story with your phrase. Now you try. Can you play these notes with an interesting phrase shape? Try it on your own. Every time you play, listen and see how interesting you can make it. It might be a little different every time, and that's part of being an artist. Now, one great way to make the end of a phrase sound beautiful is think of floating up as you get to the end of a phrase. See, as I play that last note, by floating my wrist, that helps that decrescendo. Have that nice little curly cute tip of a soft serve ice cream cone. I'd like you to pause the video and work on right hand alone with interesting phrasing, a nice wrist float as you get to the end of each phrase, then press play to go on. Now, what is super tricky is doing these left-hand articulations while the right hand is also doing its phrasing. Right? Doing this right-hand float while your left hand's doing its down, up, up. That's so much for the brain to think about, which is why slow practice is so important when you go hands together. So now you can really think about it. Is my right hand being legato? Is my left hand doing this down, up, up? The only way to think about all that at once is by doing some very slow practice. So you can think about legato in the right hand, staccato in the left hand, bum, bum. You might go that slow at first until it starts to feel natural, and then eventually it will start to speed up and you'll be able to do all those beautiful artistic articulations. But for now, I'd like you to pause and super slow motion, adagio. Try this hands together with the artistic articulations, the legato phrasing in the right hand, the down, up, up in the left hand. See if you can put that together very slowly at first. It will feel like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. Try it super slow, and then later this week, you'll gradually speed that up. Pause to work on that, then press play to go on. Now, here in measures 13 and 14, who has the melody? If you said left hand, you're correct. So remember, whenever the left hand has the melody, it's important that the right hand plays a lot more gently. Don't power too hard on these chords. Even though it says forte, the dynamic markings are usually more for the melody than for the accompaniment. So the left hand should be forte, while I would make the right hand more like mezzo piano. See how gently I'm playing the right hand? Pause and see if you can play the right hand super soft while the left hand plays super loud. So maybe overemphasize it at first. Pause to work on voicing in measures 13 and 14, then press play to go on. Then in measure 15, we're still with a left hand melody. So the right hand's going to play this chord pretty gently too. And now the right hand gets the melody again. So now the left hand's softer, right hand louder once we get to measure 17. Pause to work on measures 13 through 16 with a nice strong left hand, softer right hand, then press play to go on. Then when you get here to measure 20, observe this decrescendo and then make sure we follow this piano mark here at the start of measure 21. Sometimes with an exciting piece like this, it's easy to play everything loud, but those quiet dynamics are what will make your fortes later sound more exciting. So very important to follow this piano marking. Let's look more closely at measure 21. Now another thing we want to do in measure 21 here is to add phrasing. Look, these notes are just going E, E, F, E, F, E. That could be very boring, right? It's just going back and forth. Well, we're not going to let it be boring, right? We're going to add some phrasing. In the middle of the phrase, maybe we'll get louder, and then towards the end of the phrase, we'll get softer again. See how we can make that come alive with just very simple phrasing. Sounds so much more interesting, right, than if I just stay piano the whole time, it sounds kind of dead. But with phrasing, I do that crescendo, decrescendo. It happens very quickly, but makes it sound so much more exciting. Now you try. Can you play this phrase with phrasing? And then we'll do the same thing in measure 22, measure 25, and 26. So pause the video and take a couple minutes and work on measures 21 through 26 and add in this kind of exciting phrasing. Let it grow and then let it get softer. Pause to work on that, then press play to go on. When you're trying to play artistically at the piano, sometimes you'll make choices that aren't even shown in the music. For example, when I get to measure 36, I like to start off a little softer. Even though Melody Bober hasn't marked this section piano or mezzo piano, I drop it down to about a mezzo piano or even piano. So I can then crescendo, then I'll get softer again. So I'm adding in a crescendo in measure 36 and then a decrescendo in measure 37. I just chose to do that because I'm an artist. And you, my friend at home, you're also a musical artist. So you can make choices, sometimes that aren't even written in the music, as long as it's serving the music and telling an exciting story. So I'm going to get soft and crescendo, then I'm going to get soft again. See, to me that sounds a lot more exciting than just playing everything the same. I'm always going to try to find places to add dynamics, add shape to the notes. Pause the video and try that out on your own and see if you like it. You're an artist, so you get to make some choices too. If you like what I'm doing, you can copy it, or you can come up with your own way to interpret this section. Pause to work on measures 36 through 39, then press play, and we'll check out the last line. So here in measure 40, we have an accent, and then I see a crescendo mark. But I'm already pretty loud. I just played an accent, so how will I do a good crescendo? Well, one secret to a good crescendo is to drop your dynamics down. If you start soft, it gives you more room to grow loud, right? So again, even though Melody Bober didn't say so, I'm going to drop down to a piano here. See, I start my arpeggio very soft because that gives me room to crescendo loud. If I start loud, how can I get any louder, right? So I'm going to start soft, louder, louder, now fortissimo. I feel like I could have done my damper pedal better there. Up, down, up, down, up, down. See, because it's slowing down, what happens if I just leave it down? I actually missed one of those up downs, which, do you hear how blurry that sounds? You have to up, down, up, down, up, down. You have to do a damper pedal lift on every single chord. Up, down, up, down. Otherwise, it gets, hear how ugly that is? It's all mush. You have to up, down, up, down, up, down. Now, I'd like to show you how to add some flair with choreography at the ending. So you're going to sit really tall. And then when you come down, I want you to strike a pose, really dramatic. You play that last note and then freeze. And then wait for everyone to start clapping, and then you can stand up and bow. Okay? By freezing, you're helping hold that excitement at the end. And it's a really dramatic, flashy way to end. So you can like hold up a fist or, find something that feels natural and interesting to you, that has some Spanish flair. And then freeze, then you're done. So this week on your own, try to take all these artistic elements, focus on them one at a time, articulation, dynamics, phrasing, and then at the end, even some choreography, and put those all together to tell an exciting story from start to finish. Practice the whole thing many, many times until you feel like it's a story that you're proud to share. Great work learning the final page of El Matador by Melody Bober. Happy practicing, and see you next time. So, I knew this 4-year-old kid who had been learning Spanish all year. Really? Yeah, but he still doesn't know how to say please. I'd say that's poor for 4. But I just try to remember this one simple thing. If I ever meet a native Spanish speaker, I'm going to be sure to say mucho. Why? Because it means a lot to them.